Welcome back, loyal fans. Seems we've reached the end of the month anyway, so I suppose it's time Sega Month made its grand finale. And what better way to tie things off than with one of Sega's most shining achievements? Yu Suzuki was something of a programming genius back in the day, and this is arguably some of his finest work. Over the course of the next 9 minutes, keep in mind that this hit arcades all the way back in 1985. Other companies were making simple baby games back then like Pac-Man and Galaga, but not Sega. Sega was a decade ahead of the competition, the absolute cutting edge of the arcade scene. You love to see it. Now let me tell you a story, sounding like Dr. Phil. Let me tell you a story. But for real though, here's a story about something cool that happened to me once, related to Space Harrier. It was my very last term at community college. I was maybe 2 weeks from graduation, and I already had a great job lined up for afterward. Things were finally starting to look up for my sorry ass. And to make things even better, in the cafeteria of that community college, they had a giant TV with 3 game consoles set up for the students to use. Now this TV, it was just utterly enormous. Like you could have Boogie 2988 standing shoulder to shoulder with Melissa McCarthy, and it wouldn't even take up half the width of the screen. Just utterly huge. Now I decided to give it a whirl, but of course I wasn't content to just use those normie consoles they had set up. What was I gonna do? Use like the Wii U Mii Maker, like some kind of fucking... So I pulled out my crappy $200 laptop that I had used to write all my assignments over the past 3 years, and I hooked it up to the giant TV with a spare HDMI cable, and I then proceeded to fire up Keg of Fusion and put the 32X version of Space Harrier up on that goddamn TV for everybody to see. A few people gathered around to watch, and right as the game kicked on, the college radio system overhead started playing Believer by Imagine Dragons at some ridiculous volume. I mean, I don't normally listen to Imagine Dragons, I'm not a tool bag, but it fit the situation nonetheless. And in that moment, everything was all right. Space Harrier was being blasted at me on a 10-foot wide television, and people were cheering me on, and I had my whole life ahead of me. It was objectively one of the coolest things that has ever happened to me. That's a heck of a story, isn't it? I mean, I didn't tell it very well, but I think you get the gist. Space Harrier has been with me through thick and thin. Ooh, this is the stage where things get really fast at a certain point. Shit's gonna go crazy. Thankfully, we've got unlimited continues because this is the Yu Suzuki GameWorks edition, so it's basically the equivalent to being the cool kid with like a big fistful of quarters, and you can just put in more whenever you get close to losing. Just keep this going as long as you want. Ride or die, you son of a bitch. Top quality stuff. In some respects, it makes me wish I was born maybe 5 to 10 years earlier, so I really could have gotten into the arcade scene when it was big, but then again, I live in the middle of nowhere, so I guess there probably wouldn't have been too many good arcade machines back then. Probably would have just been, like, frickin' The Never-Ending Story, the game. Was that even a thing? Oh, here's the fast part. Frickin' Jesus, hold on to your hats, everybody. But anyway, would have been cool to be in the arcade scene at the height of things. I've never actually played Space Harrier on an arcade cabinet. You'd probably think otherwise based on how much I know about the game, but sadly I've only played the console versions. Although I did play it on an imaginary arcade cabinet in Shenmue, as most people have. That was so damn cool that they put that in there. A 1-to-1 port of fucking can't talk today. A 1-to-1 port of Space Harrier is arcade perfect, built inside of another game, all available for free, and you could go there whenever you wanted. They just do not make 'em like they used to. I am just in a nostalgic mood. So speaking of Space Harrier, I got a funny Space Harrier related video I saw once. It's going to take a fair amount of backing up to explain everything that you need to know to appreciate it. So, okay, first part of it, there was a rap song. Oh, hold that thought. Speaking of the never-ending story, yeah, look at this guy, huh? But, okay, what was I saying? So, many years ago, there was a rap song called Bitch, I Look Like Goku. And then a couple of years later, some guy on YouTube, I believe his name was Doc Future One, he made a parody of the song called Bitch, I Look Like Garfield. And anyway, I was watching that, and the backing track of the song sounded kind of familiar, and I realized that, is that the Space Harrier theme? He's doing a parody of Bitch, I Look Like Goku, but with Garfield-inspired lyrics, and the Space Harrier theme as the backing track. Who the hell is this for? I guess it was for me in a sense, because I recognized all of that stuff. So many hidden gems on YouTube, although not as many as there used to be. Long gone are the days where you'd get hits such as Homeless Guy Eats Crap. So this stage has a sci-fi theme. If you noticed all these robots gliding around. Jesus Christ, I can't get 2 inches. We got UFOs that are supposed to be parodies of the Space Invaders, you know, like the arcade game. Then drones and the robots gliding around. Hopefully they show us more of those UFOs so I can show you an example of them. Well, I guess you can just rewind the video if need be. Come on, UFOs. Oh, they're there. Those are supposed to be the things from Space Invaders. Yeah. That's so cool that they did that. So, if you're looking for ways to play Space Harrier for your own damn self and you're not emulator phobic, well, needless to say, you've got a lot of choices because the staff over at Sega just absolutely adores this game, and they ported it to just about every single console they ever made, and they got better at it with each installment. Well, mostly. Because after the initial arcade version, there was a port to the Master System that was undeniably the weakest one. That one runs at about 8 FPS. And then the following generation, they ported it to the Genesis as well, but that one was more of a direct sequel than a port. They actually called that one Space Harrier 2. That one runs at 15 FPS. Then following that, instead of more direct sequels, they just went back to porting it. So then we had the 32X port, which runs at 30 FPS. And then, with the Saturn, they finally managed to achieve a 60 FPS in Space Harrier, so that one was more or less a 1-to-1 copy of the arcade version. And then, after that, there was the Dreamcast version, which was included in Yu Suzuki Gameworks, which was a collection of games made by Yu Suzuki, obviously. And that just happens to be the version we're looking at right now. However, there is a slight discrepancy between the Dreamcast and the Saturn versions, in that the colors are just a little bit funny in this version, a bit darker than they're supposed to be. I don't know what that's about. But the point of what I'm getting at here is that there are many versions of Space Harrier out there, each one different from the others. I do enjoy having a channel like this where I can go on long-winded speeches about these obscure topics. Once again, no one in real life would probably care about the 5 ports of Space Harrier and how they differ. So, with what little remains in this episode, let's give Yu Suzuki credit where credit's due. So, other classics developed by Yu Suzuki aside from this included Outrun, a Virtua Fighter, and then the capstone of his career was Shenmue. That's a heck of a journey from something as simple as this to something fully fleshed out with its own world and all these developed characters and all of that. Yu Suzuki had a distinguished career, that is for sure. I don't believe he works at Sega anymore, because with Shenmue 3 they had to get it funded through Kickstarter. But they got it done, because even to this day, there are lots of Sega fans out there. And that's a wrap. We are done with Sega Month. Hopefully this project was as fun for you guys as it was for me. I've been putting out some banger episodes these last 30 days, and frankly, I've been having a blast. Always remember to respect the classics, defend Sega Online whenever you're called for it, and most importantly, stay cool.